Welcome to Teacher Talk, a podcast where teachers from the Shorewood School District come together to share their knowledge around current topics. We have created this podcast to connect with students and community over this time of school closure due to the coronavirus. I am Mr. Kearns, Geometry and Algebra 2 teacher at Shorewood High School.
I'm Mr. Sam Nadolski. I teach 7th grade math at Shorewood Intermediate School. We have been hearing a lot about the coronavirus in the news, and that is actually the topic that we're going to be focusing on for this podcast. So we have been hearing a lot about it in the news, but we thought with all the information coming in, we wanted to bring everything together with the help of someone who is local to our area and has dedicated her career to explaining science to others.
With that, we are proud to introduce Mrs. Kelsey Burke to join us today. Kelsey is an AP biology teacher and biology teacher at Shorewood High School. She grew up in Milwaukee, graduated from University of Milwaukee, and was actually hired the same year that I was. We've grown pretty close to become pretty close work friends. Kelsey, miss you. How are you doing?
Oh, I miss you guys too. I'm good. Going a little stir crazy, but week 2.
Yeah. What have you been up to during the school closure?
Not a whole lot. My dog is very excited that I'm home a lot, and been doing some projects around the house, and that's pretty much it. Not a whole lot.
All right. So, Kelsey, can you tell us, in general, what are we dealing with this coronavirus, and how is it different than the normal flu?
Yeah, so the virus that we're currently dealing with, it's actually one of a bunch of different coronaviruses. Coronavirus is more of a general term. Some other ones you might have heard of are SARS and MERS, and actually like 30% of common colds are caused by coronaviruses. So this particular one is brand new, COVID-19. It has a lot of similarities with the flu, so there has been some confusion about that. Like some of the symptoms are similar with fever and cough and things like that, except COVID-19 is not really causing things like sniffles. It's not really in the upper respiratory tract. It's mostly the lungs. But the transmission is similar, meaning like how it's spread between people through respiratory droplets. So when you cough or sneeze, whatever you're coughing or sneezing out has little bits of the virus, so it's spread in a similar way. But some major differences between COVID-19 and the flu, even though there do seem to be some similarities. COVID-19 is more contagious. There's this thing called the R0 number, which means like how many cases, so for each case, how many new cases will be caused by it. For the flu, it's about 1.3. So that means for each person that has the flu, they will on average spread it to 1.3 people. Okay, obviously it's an average, so we have a decimal. But with COVID-19, it's between 2 and 2.5. So more contagious. It is more severe. Like 20%, I think, of COVID-19 cases result in hospitalization. That number's only like 1 to 2% for the flu. And it's more deadly. It's about, I think, 10 times as deadly as the flu. So we have some similarities, but in terms of severity, we have to be more concerned with COVID-19 just because it can spread more easily and can cause more severe issues.
I've been hearing like the coronavirus and COVID-19. Are those terms used interchangeably to describe the same thing, or are those different things?
So COVID-19 is a type of coronavirus. A coronavirus, so corona means crown. So all it is referring to is like the structure of the virus itself. It means it has proteins on it. So like any virus that has this structure is called a coronavirus. And there are a bunch of them. There are like 7 main ones in humans, but then there are a bunch of coronaviruses that infect animals too. COVID-19 is this particular virus. So it's a type of coronavirus. And I think I'm seeing like COVID-19 more and more, but you are still seeing coronavirus, and we're just assuming we're talking about the COVID-19 one.
So in like the coronavirus world or the virus world in general, is COVID-19 like the best of them? Like it's rapid spread across the world. It seems to be like this highly successful virus in terms of like virus successes. So is this, you mentioned the high R naught value. Is this one of the most productive, if you will, viruses or coronaviruses?
So the other main ones we've had outbreaks of are SARS and MERS. SARS was, let's see, I have the, what was that? Severe acute respiratory syndrome. That outbreak was in 2002, which is before the time of many of our students, if not all of them. But like that, I have vague memories of that. That was mainly in East Asia. And that R naught is between 2 and 3. So it's pretty similar to COVID-19 in terms of how contagious it is. MERS is less contagious than the both of them. So COVID-19 definitely has some similarities with SARS, but in terms of like why it spread so quickly, the main difference is that COVID-19 is contagious even when you're not showing symptoms. So there's this 2 week isolation or quarantine period. If you've been exposed to COVID-19, you're asked to stay home and away from people for 14 days, because within those 14 days, you might be contagious. With SARS, I think you're only contagious when, you're actually with SARS, it's pretty rare to not have symptoms. So with COVID-19, the concern is spreading the virus before you even know you're sick, or you might not ever show symptoms. So in terms of that, it's kind of sneaky in that way. But then also because it's a brand new thing, we have absolutely no immunity to it. So how your immune system works very, very basically is that you come in contact with something called an antigen, which is just anything like in the environment that can cause an immune response. And your body learns from that. So it'll act against that antigen. So that's why you get a fever and a cough and things like that. Those are the ways that your immune system are fighting off the infection. And then after the infection, your immune system actually remembers the antigen. So that the next time you come in contact with it, your immune system can act faster and more efficiently. But none of us have this memory yet. So we're all coming in contact for the first time with COVID-19. We'll have to see if we do develop immunity to it, but it's different than the flu, right? Because, you know, if you get the flu, unless you come in contact with a different strain that year, you're going to be fine. But because we have never seen this before, it seems more dangerous than most viruses.
Sure. And so you touched on it a little bit. So how does this virus get transferred from person to person? So you said a little bit of sneezing, but could it get transferred just by touching, handshakes, or can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so transmission person to person happens mostly through respiratory droplets. So anytime you cough or sneeze, you are expelling like little droplets of liquid, which is gross. But then those droplets have virus in them. And sneezing is not super common with COVID-19. That's more of an issue with like colds and the flu and things like that. But let's say coughing, because that's a very, very common symptom. Every time you cough, you're expelling some of that virus. It can be then taken in directly. So if you're like within 6 feet of someone and they cough and you happen to inhale it, now that virus is in your system. That's the most common way that this is being spread, but it can survive on surfaces too. So if you cough into your hand and then shake hands with someone, now they touch their mouth, now they're getting that virus in their system. Or if you cough in your hand and you touch a doorknob, the next person to touch the doorknob. So that's why we're saying wash your hands, because you don't actually know if you're coming in contact with the virus.
So I have what I think is not a very intelligent question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So everyone's rushing out to buy hand sanitizer, which I always thought was antibacterial, but we're talking about a virus. So what is hand sanitizer doing if it's antibacterial?
So hand sanitizer can be antibacterial. It can also be antiviral, meaning it kills viruses, but only certain viruses. Viruses that have an extra protective coating on them are susceptible to being killed by alcohol. COVID-19 does have that protective coating. So hand sanitizer can kill the COVID-19 virus. However, it's not going to be as good as washing your hands with soap and water. So if you have soap and water available, you should always be doing that. If it's not available, hand sanitizer is good enough, but you should still wash your hands as soon as possible. Hand sanitizer will just kill the stuff and leave it on your hands. Washing with soap and water will actually get rid of it, take it off of your hands and wash it down the drain. So that's what you should be aiming to do. So yeah, hand sanitizer is not going to kill all viruses. Luckily, it does kill this one.
All right. Wow. Valuable information from Mrs. Kelsey Burke. Thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
It's time for your Shorewood Shoutout.
The goal of the Shorewood Shoutout is to give praise and shine light on positive news that we hear of going on in the community. So Sam, do you want to give your shout out?
Yes, so I'm really excited for this first of many shout outs, and I'm going to shout out to the Shorewood Shamrock Hunt. I heard about this on some of the Shorewood Facebook pages and thought it was a really cool idea. What some families in Shorewood did is they cut out shamrocks and put them in the windows of their homes, and then students were able to walk around the community and count or collect the shamrocks that they found. First of all, it's a good way to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, which for the most part was canceled for many of us. But also it's a great way, this idea was a great way to bring the community together, some relief for this sort of isolation, some of the stress and loneliness that's caused by that. And it's just in general, getting the community engaged outdoors and in an active way. So my shout out is to the Shamrock Hunt. I hope all the kids found lots and lots of shamrocks and had fun. And I look forward to hearing all the other fun ideas that Shorewood is doing to stay active during this period of social distancing.
Yes, so comment, what are you doing? How are you staying active? How are you doing? Subscribe to our podcast, and we will see you soon. Thank you, Shorewood.
Thank you.